Okay, so you've been putting off buying that new TV, right? Because honestly, who wants to wade through all that tech jargon? You look up one review and bam,
Right.
HDR, refresh rates, HDMI, 2 point, what's SIP?
Yeah.
Sit. It's just overload. So our mission today, let's cut through all that noise. We're going to pull out the actual knowledge you need for like the biggest decision you'll make.
Yeah.
QLED or OLED, everything else, kind of secondary.
Exactly. And this isn't just, different branding on the same thing. Like you said, this is the fundamental fork in the road. We're talking two completely different ways of making a picture. Fundamentally different. Understanding that. That's key to everything else.
Okay, so let's break down that core difference, something you can actually remember.
Yeah.
First corner, OLED, organic light emitting diode. The key word is emissive. Think of it like millions of tiny, tiny light bulbs, each pixel.
Each one makes its own light.
And if it needs to be black, poof, the bulb just switches off completely.
Exactly. It's off. Then you've got QLED, quantum dot LED TV. That one's transmissive. Think of maybe a really bright spotlight that's your LED backlight shining through some fancy colored glass.
Like a high-tech stained glass window?
Sort of, yeah. The quantum dots and other layers, they make the color, but they need that backlight behind them. They can't make light on their own.
Okay, that spotlight versus tiny light bulbs analogy that's sticking with me.
Yeah.
But QLED, this is where I think the marketing gets a bit fuzzy. You're saying QLED, even with that fancy Q, is really just a boosted version of the LCD tech we've had for ages.
That's fundamentally correct, yes. QLED is basically LCD pushed to its limits, mainly by adding that quantum dot film layer. Samsung really pushed this around 2015, slapped the QLED brand on it in 2017. Those quantum dots, microscopic things. They take the blue light from the LEDs and convert it really efficiently into super pure reds and greens. That's the magic.
So it's about making that older tech better, brighter, more colorful. And yeah, Samsung bangs the drum loudest for QLED, but you see TCL using it heavily too.
Right.
In Vizio, Hisense, they use quantum dots even if they don't always call it QLED. So it's definitely widespread.
Absolutely. It's a proven way to enhance LCD. Meanwhile, OLED, which LG really pioneered for TVs, it just throws the whole backlight concept out the window. And getting rid of that backlight, that has huge consequences for picture quality, which I guess brings us to the main event. The picture quality showdown.
Yes, let's get into it. And starting with OLEDs, like killer feature.
Contrast and black levels.
Right. We always hear contrast is king, but why does getting really black blacks matter so much visually?
It just creates this incredible sense of depth, realism, because OLED pixels can turn completely off next to one that's bright white. You get what's technically called an infinite contrast ratio. It's measurable. A star field in space. The space is genuinely black, zero light.
Okay, infinite contrast. Got it. Now compare that to QLED, even the super high-end ones with like thousands of dimming zones trying to control the backlight.
Right. They try to mimic that pixel level control, but they still have that single big backlight panel shining through. And that's the limitation. Even the best local dimming lets some light leak through. Blacks aren't quite pitch black, more like a very dark gray. But the bigger issue is what we call blooming, or sometimes halo effect.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Like white text on a black background, and there's sort of a glow around the letters.
Exactly that glow. That's the backlight zone for the white letters bleeding into the black area next to it. It breaks the illusion,
Totally breaks it. That subtle glow instantly reminds you you're watching a screen. So that light leakage, that blooming, that's a really core visual difference then.
It's probably the most fundamental visual difference day to day, especially in a dim room.
Yeah.
But QLED does have its own ace up its sleeve.
Which is
brightness, sheer raw light output. This is where QLED strikes back. The top-tier QLEDs using those powerful backlights can get significantly brighter than any current OLED panel. Just pure nits, pure horsepower.
Okay, so what does that actually mean for you, the viewer, at home? When does that extra brightness matter?
Well, the obvious one is a really bright room, lots of windows, sunlight maybe hitting the screen. QLED's brightness can power through that ambient light better. Doesn't mean OLED is dim. It's plenty bright for most normal rooms, but QLED has the absolute peak brightness advantage. Interestingly, though, even though OLED has lower peak brightness, HDR content can often look more impactful on it.
How does that work if it's not as bright?
Because of the perfect blacks. That infinite contrast makes the bright highlights pop more dramatically against the dark areas. The range feels greater, even if the absolute ceiling is a bit lower. Contrast does a lot of the heavy lifting for HDR perception.
Okay. Contrast versus raw power. But wait, the tech doesn't stand still, right? We mentioned competition. Samsung jumping into OLED, LG fighting back, QD-OLED and MLA. Where do they fit in this brightness contrast fight?
Good point. This is where it gets really interesting the last couple of years. So Samsung Display started making QD-OLED panels in 2022. QD-OLED tries to take the best of both worlds. It uses OLED's self-lit pixels for those perfect blacks. But instead of using filters for color, it uses blue OLED material plus red and green quantum dots.
So quantum dots on top of OLED, how does that help?
It removes the color filter layer found in traditional WOLED panels from LG Display. This means potentially purer colors and critically higher brightness levels than older OLEDs could manage. It's a direct shot at OLED's historical weakness.
Clever. A fusion approach.
Yeah.
So LG Display, being the original OLED champ, couldn't just sit back. What's this MLA thing?
Right. MLA is micro lens array. Think of it like a sheet with billions of microscopic lenses laminated onto the front of their traditional OLED panel. These lenses basically gather up light that was previously wasted, bouncing around inside the panel, and focus it forward towards the viewer.
So it's like making the existing OLED tech more efficient at getting light out.
Exactly. It boosts the brightness significantly, putting LG's best OLEDs much closer to, or even matching QD OLED brightness in some cases. So the gap is narrowing thanks to this competition. Both camps are pushing brightness now.
Okay, that's the brightness war. What about the living room reality? People aren't always sitting dead center. What about viewing angles and uniformity?
Yeah, the bad seat problem. This is another area where OLED generally shines, because each pixel makes its own light and sends it out pretty evenly. The picture looks almost identical even if you're way off to the side. Colors stay true, contrast holds up.
And QLED, being based on LCD.
It struggles more. Those liquid crystals work best when you're looking straight on. Move off to the side, maybe 30 degrees or more, and you'll usually see the colors start to wash out. The contrast drops noticeably. It looks kind of faded.
Yeah, that washout look from the end of the sofa. I know that one.
Exactly. And uniformity, meaning how consistent the brightness and color is across the whole screen. OLED tends to be better there too. QLEDs, especially on dark gray screens, can sometimes show slight blotchiness, though high-end models minimize this.
So OLED takes viewing angles and uniformity, hands down. Okay, let's shift gears to the practical stuff, the things that often really dictate the purchase money and size.
Right. And here, QLED often has a significant advantage, especially with size, because it leverages that more established LCD manufacturing. You can find QLEDs in a huge range of sizes, small ones like 32-inch, all the way up to massive 98-inch screens, even bigger sometimes. OLED manufacturing is trickier, more expensive, especially at scale, so sizes tend to start around 42 inches and typically top out for consumers around, say, 83 or maybe 97 inches at the very high end.
And the price difference, especially when you get big, it's not small, is it?
Not at all. If you want an 85-inch TV, for example, a good QLED might cost, I don't know, a few $1,000s, maybe less. An 83-inch OLED will likely be significantly more expensive, often thousands more.
So if your priority is sheer screen size per dollar, QLED is probably the way to go.
Generally, yes. For big screen impact on a tighter budget, QLED offers more square inches for your money. That's a clear, practical win.
Okay, but now we have to tackle OLEDs. Well, its potential Achilles heel, the burn-in question. People worry about static logos or game displays getting permanently stuck on the screen. Is that still a real thing to fear?
It is a real phenomenon, yes, permanent image retention. But, and this is a big but, the risk is often significantly overstated for how most people actually watch TV today. To get permanent burn-in on a modern OLED, you typically need to display the exact same bright static element for hundreds, if not thousands of hours. Think like the same news channel logo in the corner, hours every single day for months or years.
So not just watching a movie with letterbox bars or playing a game for a weekend.
Generally, no. Those scenarios might cause temporary image retention, like a faint ghost you see for a minute or two afterwards, but that almost always fades. Permanent burn-in requires extreme, prolonged abuse. Plus, modern OLEDs have built-in safety features. Pixel shifting that subtly moves the image, logo brightness detection that dims static logos, and screen refresh cycles that run when the TV is off. They actively fight it now.
Okay, so context is crucial. If your main use case is having CNN or Fox News on for 8 hours straight every single day,
then yeah, maybe QLED is the safer bet, just for peace of mind. Zero risk there.
But for most people, mixing movies, streaming, maybe some gaming,
yeah,
the risk on a new OLED is actually pretty low.
It's very low for typical varied viewing habits. It shouldn't be the primary deciding factor unless you know you fit that extreme static content profile.
Right. Okay, so let's try and wrap this all up. We've covered a lot. What's the core takeaway for you, the listener? It feels like comparing apples to apples at similar price points, maybe. OLED tends to edge out on overall picture quality and ideal conditions, those perfect blacks, the contrast, the viewing angles.
I think that's fair to say yes, especially in a controlled lighting environment like a dedicated movie room or just watching at night. OLED often delivers that wow factor because of the contrast and pixel precision. But, and this is important, the sensible choice really depends on your situation. QLED makes more sense if you tick certain boxes. Box 1. Is your room super bright, like sun pouring in? QLED's higher peak brightness might be a real benefit. Box 2. Do you absolutely need the biggest screen possible for your budget, say 85 inches or larger? QLED will almost certainly give you more size for the money. And box 3. Are you genuinely worried about burn-in because you watch tons of content with static logos day in, day out? QLED completely eliminates that worry.
Okay, so let's crystallize that into questions you should ask yourself. 5 questions. 1. Room brightness. Bright room leans QLED. Dim room, OLED excels. 2. Viewing angles, wide seating area. OLED is much better. Watching mostly straight on. QLED is fine. 3. Screen size versus budget. Maximum inches for dollar points to QLED. Willing to pay more for potentially better blacks at a given size. Consider OLED. 4. Content type. Hours of the same news channel daily. QLED is safer. Varied movies, streaming, gaming. OLED risk is low. 5. Ultimate picture priority. If absolute perfect black and contrast is your holy grail, especially for movies, OLED. If maximum brightness and vibrant color in all conditions is key, QLED fights hard. Honestly, the good news is both QLED and OLED are fantastic technologies now. You're unlikely to buy a bad high-end TV either way.
Exactly. The baseline is incredibly high. It's more about optimizing for your specific needs and preferences.
So the choice really does come down to your room, your habits, your eyes, and your wallet.
Precisely. And maybe one final thought to chew on, looking ahead. This QLED versus OLED battle, it's really just one phase. Samsung is pouring research into true emissive quantum dot displays, trying to get OLED's perfect blacks, but with quantum dot efficiency and maybe longer lifespan, no organic materials. That could be the next big thing. And then there's microLED. We touched on it. Millions of tiny inorganic LEDs acting like OLED pixels.
Yeah.
Potentially perfect blacks, insane brightness, no burn-in. The holy grail display tech, really?
But crazy expensive right now, yeah.
Oh, astronomical. Like, buy a house expensive for a large screen. But the big question is, how fast will that technology scale up and come down in price? When does the truly perfect display become affordable? That cost curve is what everyone in the industry is watching.
Fascinating stuff for the future. But for today, hopefully, you feel much better equipped to navigate the TV aisle. You can ignore the technobabble and just focus on those key differences we talked about. Thanks for diving deep with us. Go choose wisely.